Hi, my name is Garrick Woods. I am a professor of music at Humboldt State University in Arcata, California, which is up near the Oregon border on the coast. We have beautiful sandy and rocky beaches, redwood forests, and pleasant 50, 60, 70 at the hottest degree weather all year round. So it's a place I really have come to love and highly recommend. I wanted to share some tips about my favorite piece of software, MuseScore. This will be designed as a way to learn the program from scratch, but also to offer helpful things for those who want to be able to get more out of it and either don't know how or otherwise want to become more efficient in the way that you organize your workflow and use the program. I am assuming that you've already installed it. First thing you're going to want to do is put in something on this page so that it gives you some information on the score. I always just put a copyright. The copyright symbol on Macintosh computers is Alt-G. Most Windows machines will give you that symbol if you do open parentheses, C, closed parentheses. You can also use the character viewer or alt codes if you're familiar with them. Next, you need to choose what kind of staff it's going to give you. You can do very basic from just the clef or a grand staff. You can use the templates, such as these choral ones, or chamber music, quartets, band, orchestra, jazz, whatever you need is probably here somewhere. Unless, like me, you often work with an odd assortment of instruments in maybe an orchestra or chamber music class that you have to figure out how to arrange something for them. In that case, you would do choose instruments, and then there's a whole selection process there. I'll get into that in another video. For now, I'm just going to use one of these choral templates. I'm going to use the SATB template. And we'll do C major, 4/4, default number of measures, no problem. If you did want to pick up measure, you can specify it here. You will run into problems numbering measures when you use pickups, and we can get into that another time. Okay, so here is my empty score that it produced for me. I didn't give it a ton of information here, but I can double click on anything to edit it as I will. My copyright does appear at the bottom of the page, and I'm ready to start putting notes in. If I just click on a note and click on the score, nothing happens because by default I am in keyboard entry mode. That means that I can put a letter name down and that note will appear. So I'm going to put in a D, and the MIDI controller has determined that I'm using soprano for my voice and provided a nice, lovely soprano for me. Sounds are something you can change in MuseScore, and I'll post a tutorial on that later. The button you really need to know more than any other is this note entry mode button here. Anything that you mouse over and just leave the mouse hovering will give you a better description of what that icon is and does, and will often include keyboard shortcuts for how to quickly interact with that. So, for example, this quarter note is 5. This N is getting cut off because I don't think it likes how much information is in this alt text, but N itself is the key that you press to change between this selection or keyboard entry mode and this mouse entry mode right here. I'm going to put in just a few notes that we can interact with a little bit. Okay, those are notes. They don't mean a whole lot by themselves. All scores have a few things that this does not. The first things we're going to need to establish is a tempo, and anything we need to add that's not just notes we can probably find on the left here in this palettes section. And if I look down here, I find we do have tempo. And how do I get it from here over to here? Well, let's see. If I try to just drag it, it works. And I dragged it to the note I wanted it to be anchored to, the first note of the piece, which is a good practice. Okay, but I don't want quarter note equals 80, so let me try to change that. Let me try to double click it. Oh shoot, I was in mouse entry mode and it gave me a note. I'm going to Command Z that, get that out of the way. So this is where this key comes in into play. If I want to select anything, I need to make sure this isn't selected. Okay, now I can click on that twice and adjust it. Let's say I actually want Allegro, and I'm going to make that like a 112 Allegro. Okay, if I go up here, there's a play button, and now my notes are being played back in that 112. That's nice. Great. What else do I need? I need some dynamics. Let's make this joyful. So this note selected, I double-clicked that forte, and it placed it right there. Another way you can do that, again, click, drag, you see the plus sign, and it adds it. Okay, well, this is vocal music. So let's add some lyrics to this. We need some syllables to sing on. Let's go to the Add menu up here. Well, what's it going to add it to? Let's say, here, let's start on the first note, text, and down here I'll find lyrics. And you'll notice that it's putting it in kind of a weird place below my dynamic. Don't worry about that for now. We're going to make this like a law space, law, music. And to get it to switch between notes, there are two keys, space and the dash key. And that's basically how lyric writing works to begin with. So that's in place exactly as it should be. The expression appears above the words, but I'm not totally happy with where it is. So I'm going to move that, but I'm not really confident in my ability to drag that to a good place. There's got to be a way to keep it a little more neat and clean without me messing with it. This is the first bigger tip that I want to leave you with, is if you don't have it on the right already by default, go into View, and in here there are lots of different tools that you can add to the layout of the program. The first one we're going to add is the inspector. And what the inspector does is it allows you to work with any element of your score that you have selected. So with nothing selected, nothing shows up. If I select this note, I get options for what it looks like, where it is, and you can even adjust things like tuning on the playback, stem style. Some of the other alterations will be on the palette as well, but this is good to have for formatting and placement of things. So I want to move the Y position of this forte because it's sitting too low for my comfort. So what I'm reducing by pressing the down arrow here is the spacing between it and the music. That's why I'm pressing down to make it go up, right? I'm reducing the amount of space. And now that's much closer together. That's great. What if I don't want forte? And I don't particularly want any of these as well. Maybe I want something more specific. Maybe I want these to be really spat consonants. My palette here doesn't have as much stuff as I want. I'm going to go down here and change to advanced. Once you've done this, there's honestly no reason to turn back. You have more options here now, more categories, and you also have more things within them. Maybe a sforzando. That's not really a choral thing, is it? Okay, maybe we'll keep our forte. Let's change instead. Let's put our forte there again. And let's reduce our spacing. Oops. Okay. Let's put an accent on it. So accent is going to be under articulations. Accent like this. Whoops. We can't give a forte an accent, that's why it didn't work. Let's give the note the accent. There we go. Okay, let's give multiple accents, and instead of clicking all those in, I'm going to select multiple notes. I did that by selecting a note, holding Shift, arrowing over, double click. Now they each have notes.